Hi, I'm Cash, and welcome to Cash Talks Football, where we break down all the goals scored in the Premier League. Using my vast experience of coaching for over 20 years all over the place, I like to give you a different insight and actually try to tell you and teach you what's really going on, instead of like the other Muppets you might listen to. So there's a couple of things I'm going to talk about quickly here, but I want to point out this free kick again, because this is a similar free kick in a couple of games. Liverpool-Arsenal one, they were doing the similar thing. It caused all sorts of problems because they don't know why they're defending here, and it just makes problems because they don't understand why they're doing this. That's the key point. And of course, there is a problem here, and the problem that they don't get themselves a goal, but they do get themselves a penalty shout. And that's why I'm covering this here, because I want to show you that it is a clear handball. I want to tell you why it's a handball, so you can identify it as well and make it, it's not making up your own mind. It is when you actually see it. But the reason the handball comes is because of this chaos and because of this high line from this free kick, giving people space to create a whole bunch of nonsense, and then we get a penalty shout here. So I'm not going to really cover this. I'm just going to cover the penalty shout. Let's get on to that. So when you were asking the question about penalty shouts in the box, there's a couple of things, right? And forget this nonsense is it an unnatural position or is it intentional or unintentional? It's very few times it's unintentional. It's an unintentional handball. It's a penalty. Intentional handballs, yeah, you can spot my mile off, but this is a handball. And what you need to think of it is this: is the ball travelling towards the goal? Yes. Does the ball change its momentum away from the goal because it hits the arm or the hand? Yes. Well, then it's a penalty. Is it intentional? No. Is it in an unnatural position, this nonsense? Yes, it's in an unnatural position. Do you know why? Because as we move this forward, this player, he's in an unnatural position. He's diving onto the ground. Is his arm put out there to save himself from falling on the ground? Yes. Is falling on the ground an unnatural position? Yes. Hence, the ball is travelling towards the goal. The arm is going to stop the ball going into the net box, and therefore penalty. Because that shouldn't be there, because he shouldn't be diving like that. That's a completely unnatural thing to be doing. And then, by the way, this guy grabbing him by the neck. What's going on there? So yeah, it's a penalty. Stonewalled. This guy's defending is terrible. His back is to the ball. Is your back to the ball a natural position? No, not really. So everything he's doing is wrong defensively. And then he's stopped the ball going towards the goal with his arm. So yeah, it's a penalty. Okay, because I rag on Burnley quite a bit because I think Vincent Kompany's a terrible manager. But I want to give us a bit of credit here. These players are fighting for their lives. And like Fulham were pretty much all over most of the game. And Burnley, it looks like a 2-0 game, but it could have been 2-0 easily for Fulham. But this is what I want to sort of try to point out to you here. This is bad football. You see this guy giving the ball to him there, okay? Right? This ball's going to get intercepted by this weak chap here. This guy here has got all of this space to run into, but yet he chooses to pass the ball 5 yards away. So when when you're coaching, I always ask the question, well, what difference does it make? And people are like, well, what are you on about? Well, what does you having the ball there or him having the ball there, does it make any difference? Well, yeah, because we're moving players. Well, you're not moving players because you're surrounded by 4. So you're not moving any players because you've got too many around you. So if you give it to him, what difference is it going to make? Well, none. If you run with the ball into the space, what difference is it going to make? Well, massive, because I'm running away from the 4 players on there. And this player will come to me. And immediately, as soon as you run into that space, the difference it will make is you've got a pass there and a pass there. He doesn't understand that. All he does is pass the ball there for some unknown reason, and he gets caught out. Doesn't know what he's doing. Bosh. And now they're in all sorts of trouble. When you lose... So, transitional play, everybody knows. 80% of goals are scored within the first couple of minutes of you losing the ball because you're not in your team shape. Everybody knows that. You should know that from when you're at least 6 years old. So, of course, because of that dumb play, Fulham are out of shape, and now they're in trouble, and Burnley are off. They go into the races. He's screaming for the ball, and he gets it. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he does. There he goes. So now we're moving it forward. But now, look, it's not bad, but this is the problem, right? You see this guy here? He's on the line. The lines are like mind triggers. If you do it with anything, you can trick people all the time by putting a line there, and people will end up standing on it because he's not watching this guy here, and he's not fully forward up here. Okay, if he is, it's not going to make that. You'll see what I mean in a minute. But you want to keep your line solid. Having that one player back and one player forward is just uncertainty, and it means you're not set properly and you're not together as a unit. So when this little 1-2 goes in, bosh. Do you see he's getting dragged across here? Off he's going, he's getting dragged across. If he was already up with his teammate, he would have been on this player here, and it would have helped this guy make a better decision. Okay? But as I always say, a good 1-2, you can't beat it. But the other thing I want to give credit for with Burnley is on this strike, because sometimes you can't just defend goals because it's a good finish. Now, I think the keeper gets beaten a bit too easy from this distance. I think he's a couple of feet off his line too long on the 6-yard box, but here we go. And as it comes in, buff, he gets beaten. Absolutely beaten. He's a little bit too far up. But do you see what I mean about those two players? They're not really doing anything. Because they're not together, they're just a little bit off each other. And you can feel that there's no cohesionness there between the two. Does he press he wants to press the ball, but he can't. His teammate's not there to back it right there. It's just all a little bit hooky for me. And the keeper is way too far off his line. He should do much, much better. Let's get on to the next goal. In true Cash fashion, I pause it and go back because I want to show you that exactly what I'm talking about. Now, can you see those two circles of space there? That's what I'm trying to point out to you. Where if this guy was up here, at least one of those circles of space had gone, and then they could both track back at the same time or both go forward at the same time. Instead, he's there, and he's giving them two circles of space. He's giving them two pockets to play in, instead of just shutting up one of them with his teammate standing there, and then making sure, okay, that's behind, but we're going to make sure that we can control that. It gives them two. All right, let's get on to the next goal. I'm going to play this a little bit different, just because I keep getting hit by the copyright trolls of the old Premier League. But this guy here picked up this ball. Now, defensively, let's have a little look at what's going on with Fulham, because they're getting caught out again. Right, so we've got no one really into this big pocket here. So this guy is with his couple of mates. He's got lots of options, lots of choices to see where he wants to go and what he wants to do. But what he ends up doing is absolutely unbelievable. He just keeps running with the football. He ends up running all the way with the football. No one is anywhere near him. Look, their recovery runs. Look at his run. His recovery run isn't correct. His recovery run should be seeing that there's a player unmarked there, and he should be looking to come in and tuck in there. And I don't care what position he's playing, left or right back, doesn't matter. You need to come in and do that because your centre-back's on the back pedal there. And if he wants to play the ball from that side of the field over to where you're supposed to be, you don't care, because you can run from there to there by the time the ball is in the air, from there to there. So you need to come in and recover. And if you're not doing it, you need to be yelling at your teammate to do it. If you are coming back here to mark your player, you better well make sure this centre midfielder comes back in and covers this space here. It doesn't actually matter for the goal, but it is good practice. And you can see the lack of effort. See, look, can you see the total lack of effort? And can you see why I mean this player needs to come across there and do that? Because he's completely unmarked. And you don't care about this player. I see idiot football channels talk about, yeah, but you've got to mark the player out wide. You don't need to mark the player out wide. Here's a clue. The goal is in the middle of the field. This guy's in the middle of the field and he's unmarked. You can come over here and pressure that, but he doesn't. Doesn't really matter because this guy gets to go for a walkabout. I've moved it on for a bit just because he just keeps running down the middle of the field. No one comes anywhere near him to close him down. Now, can you see what this guy's trying to do? He's trying to close his mate down here. And he's got a player going wide. Right? That's probably the right decision. Can you also see this guy ended up not doing anything? And he ended up being completely and utterly unmarked in the middle of the goal. But what that does is it takes the eyes off these two central defenders. Okay, and no one goes towards this ball. There's no pressure on it at all. But that's not the worst of it. As this comes in here, Bush, this is a lazy strike. Keeper, I think he's a little bit too far off his line again. And the reason why I think he's too far off his line is because he's not good enough. And he demonstrated that in the last goal. If he's up there and he can get around, that worldy curl, fine, but he can't. This is a daisy cutter of a shot, placed into the bottom corner, no real pace, and it beats him near post from outside the 18-yard box after the guy's run 35, 40 yards with it. It's an absolute terrible goal to concede. It's a bad shot. It's no challenge on him all the way through the middle of the park. That is just a team that looks like they've given up for the rest of the game. Terrible. I'll see you next time on Cash Talks Football.